All right, here we go. All right, we're live. Good morning, everyone. It is January 14th. It is a Wednesday. Ooh, let me mute my phone here. If you're joining the stream for the first time, how we do this on this channel is we start the day out with a overall market wellness check. Then we move on to the happening stories going on in the world today. There's a lot of exciting things to cover. Some of it's good news, some of it's bad news, but it's definitely exciting either way. In this stream, we'll spend about the first hour going over market analysis, and we'll do some Q&A with the comment section to go over which coins you guys are interested in or answer any questions that you have. Around 12 p.m. Eastern time today, we're going to be watching a video that came out just yesterday from Paul Barron Network. It's all about the Clarity Act. He brought up a lot of very good points. I'd like to walk through that video and we'll break it down together. I have a lot of thoughts on the matter. It's very interesting stuff. Whether it plays out or not, we'll have to see. But we'll cover that around noon. In the meantime, let's dive into the overall crypto market check. And then I want to say good morning to everyone in the chat. So good morning, Dean. Good morning, Deep Dave. First comment. Good morning, my friend. I'm not able to tune in as much until next week. I'm out of town visiting family. Just wanted you to know I still fully support the channel. I haven't bailed. Hey, totally understand. I appreciate it. We're here every day from 11 to 1 p.m. I'm not going anywhere. So, when you guys have personal obligations, don't feel like you have to check into every single stream. We'll always be picking up where we left off in the next weeks. We got good morning, Steph. Howdy. It's afternoon here in Scotland, but good morning to you. That's awesome. Hope you guys are enjoying your afternoon. It's about 11 a.m. here in Michigan. Some people have told me to stop saying what city I live in. Maybe that's paranoia. Maybe that's good advice. For now, I'm going to take it. Deep Dave says XRP, Flare, and HBAR, future for wealth, 100% agree. I want to dive straight into the a lot of cool things happened overnight, and I think a lot of people are going to be very happy. Good morning, baller. We're jumping over here. Interesting stuff. So right off the bat, Bitcoin absolutely ripped overnight. Now, in the past, I've said that when Bitcoin moves, the altcoins move even more. This is an interesting case because at least in this particular instance, Bitcoin has moved a lot more than just about every other coin in the market. Now, some people have said, and this is like a historical thing, when Bitcoin moves, ETH follows, and then the rest of the market follows. If that's the trend that we're looking at here, Bitcoin's moved almost 4% in the past day, at least since our last stream. That's a pretty big move for Bitcoin. Bitcoin does not often move 4% in a day. And in general, you can see for the week it went flat. This shows us some consolidation patterns. Money's starting to pour in. I wonder, does the Clarity Act have anything to do with this? Are there insiders that know things that we don't? Interesting stuff to think about. If Bitcoin crosses 100K, I think that would officially put us out of the mire that we've been in since around, really, I'd say since September, if I'm being honest with you guys. We did see that all-time high spike over there in October, but it was very short-lived. You can see that, after the 10th, it tanked, never really recovered. Well, we might be looking at that recovery now. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. In my previous videos, my pre-recorded content, I've been predicting that mid-January to early February is when we start to see some major moves in the market. It's so far, if things do play out, it looks like I might actually have been spot on with that. We're going to have to see how things play out. It is January 14th, so we've still got half a month left here in January. February is really the month that I'm looking at personally for some really widespread growth, not just in major coins like Bitcoin or Ethereum, but really the overall market. Looking at Ethereum, they're also up pretty high, 5% in one day, major spike around 5 p.m. yesterday. I mean, look at that, a vertical line to the upside. When we see moves like that, that means institutional money is moving. That's not going to be money that you and I are putting into the market. If you see a market cap here on Ethereum, $400 billion, just for reference, that's almost 10 times the size of an automotive company like General Motors or Ford. If you went and, bought those auto stocks, then you would know there's a lot of money going into those auto companies. So to have something 10 times bigger than that, people on Coinbase and Kraken and Uphold dollar cost averaging in ETH is not making that kind of move. So there's going to be some institutional money that's been flowing in. It looks like it's really spreading throughout the market. And I'm wondering, is this a good sign for the Clarity Act? We'll have to see. The Clarity Act is kind of full of problems. We're going to address that in the Paul Barron video. But interesting stuff. XRP had a very good rally yesterday. It was actually ahead of the curve. Unfortunately, overnight did have a bit of a dip. So we peaked out at 218. It looked like it was going to continue. Overnight, it went all the way down to $2.11. But now it's on the rise back up. As we're live streaming this, it is on the vertical upside. I think we'll monitor this throughout the day, but if we break through the 218 mark right there, that's going to give me a lot of confidence that this trend is going to continue moving forward. Again, my sights are on February. We'll see if it pans out that way. But there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the world right now. It seems like there's a perfect storm on the horizon. And if you've been following the channel, we talk about the domino theory. The domino theory is still in play, and we'll cover that in a little bit. I'm going to catch up with the live chat, see if we've got any questions before we jump on to other things. So we got afternoon from the UK. What's going on, Vector? Happy to see you. Brandy Burden, good morning. Happy to see you join. And, Josh Laser. I'm sorry, Andrew, but I believe XDC, the third X token, will be a large player in the new financial system compared to HBAR. I looked into XDC, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. And I think it's good that we have discourse. We don't always have to 100% agree on things. The perspective that I look at XDC, and I know that it's not a parallel with XRP. They do actually complement each other. So it's not like XDC is necessarily stealing business away from Ripple or vice versa. But they do have some overlap. And the way I look at it, and this is just my opinion, if XRP is Coca-Cola, then something like XDC would be like Faygo or RC Cola. Depending on where you live in the world, you might not know what those brands are. But, if you go to a grocery store, there's always going to be some Faygo or some RC Cola, but then the rest of the shelves is loaded up with Coca-Cola, right? And I kind of see the same analogy applying to XDC. I think that you could still probably do very well with XDC. I'm just not currently buying it myself. But if you are buying XDC, don't let that deter you. In general, I try to stick to only a handful of tokens. I see some people on Twitter or even on Reddit that have portfolios of like 30 different coins. There's a lot of redundancy there, and I think you're better off really honing in on what you think the real winners are going to be. But that's just my opinion. People are free to do what they want, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm right. So I am open-minded to these things. What's going on, FDR or FRDXRP? I think you may have just missed. We talked about XDC. I know that you were asking about Canton. The thing about Canton is I've been looking into it. This is a hard coin to get a hold of. It's not on Coinbase. It's not on Gemini. I haven't checked Kraken or Uphold. Maybe it's on there, but Um, when you look this up on Coinbase, it doesn't even show up at all. So I find that a little bit odd. It does look like Canton is, for what it's worth, it's getting a lot of partnerships. JP Morgan is using this for their own stable coin, I believe it was. But I'm not sure. I'll have to keep looking into this one. I'm not saying it's a bad option, but I don't currently have it on my watch list. And, if it's going to be the Wall Street coin, I mean, by default, that probably means it'll do well. But there's certain things about it I'm iffy on, and I'll just have to keep looking into it. And maybe I just need to give it more time to give it a fair shake. But Vector says it's a replacement for XRP. That's an interesting perspective. If you're up to date, Ripple doesn't necessarily play nice with some of the other major banks, especially JP Morgan. So maybe we see some kind of, trade war going on with Canton versus XRP. I'll have to keep looking at this stuff. For what it's worth, Franklin Templeton Investments, I'm already pretty big into Franklin Templeton. If they're going to be getting involved with Canton, maybe this is something I need to really look more into. But I just don't know enough about it yet to really give a good opinion on that. But it does seem that one thing I did research on it, similar to XRP, they do their validators through a consensus mechanism, meaning instead of staking or mining, there's like institutions or entities that act as the validators. I believe I read online that there were 39 of them. Don't take that as gospel. I don't have any of the info in front of me, but if those validators are all like big name banks, then I think people that are into crypto for kind of like the freedom fighter side of things, where they want their decentralized finance, they want their security, their anonymity. I'm working on that word. I think I just got it. Anonymity. I think that XDC or not XDC, I think Canton could kind of go against that, especially if JP Morgan and some of these other major banks are championing the coin. It's something interesting to look at. I have my own thoughts on that, which we'll cover when we watch the Clarity Act video from Paul Barron. But there's pros and cons, right? So again, on this channel, we always try to look for, how do you position yourself in the best way possible? And sometimes that can be removing the emotion from like, oh, I want the security side of things to work out, or I want to keep my anonymity. I look at it like the Wild West. I don't know if you guys have ever played, the Red Dead Redemption games, but something I was thinking about last night is between the first game and the second game, what's kind of like the common theme of both games? It's that the cowboy era or the bandit era is coming to an end. In both games, you play as like an outlaw who has to kind of navigate this space where, trains are shipping people in, and the landscape is being like paved over. There's more lawmen, there's more society. And, in the Wild West, a big draw of that was that you're a free man to literally go do as you please. And there's not so many people around that, you don't have to follow so many rules and things like that. And in both of those games, your character has to kind of always be at odds with that. And so I kind of see the crypto space trending the same way right now, where a lot of the freedom fighter people, or a lot of this Wild West, the benefits of having that kind of freedom are one way or another getting paved over. And you may not even really have the choice to stop it. So just something interesting to think about. By the way, we're brand new to the stream, or at least for today's stream. If you guys could go ahead and like the stream, that'll help this get spread. I see there's 43 of you in here right now. There's 14 likes. If you guys could help me get that up to 20, won't interrupt the stream or anything, but that'll go a long way at helping new people find this stream as we get going. I want to jump over to the Japanese government bond because this thing went up another 2 basis points overnight. And for that reason, I still believe that the reverse carry trade is in play. So right now it's I don't know if this chart is showing up well for you guys. I might be blocking it with my head here, but we've moved up to 2.18. I think this is interesting because I don't really see other channels talking about this. I know Jay Claver talks about it, and I talk about it, but I don't see a lot of other channels. You almost don't hear about this anywhere else. And I'm wondering if this could be a weird situation where I'm actually like kind of breaking news here. There are some news articles that, you know, we are very close. I don't, maybe not say we because I don't think many of us are Japanese, but the Japanese bond is very close to hitting an all-time high, even from back when it was at its peak back in the 90s. I think this might be an article you gotta have a paywall, so we'll click out of this one. But if this thing hits like true all-time highs, like the all-time high that it's ever been, I think a financial crisis is imminent. Again, for us crypto holders, that's a great thing, but the stock market will take a huge beating from that because in order to pay back these bonds, you know, you're going to have to convert your money back into the yen. If you're a tech company or a bank and you took out a Japanese yen loan, there's a good chance that yen is gone. So if you have to repay the yen, but you don't have any yen, then you're bottlenecked, right? And what could happen there is that, you know, all these large institutions and entities have no choice but to convert to XRP. If the Bank of Japan accepts XRP as a payment system, which it's all but certain that that's the way it's going to go, we could see XRP, you know, I don't want to give out numbers here, but let's say $1 trillion was used to facilitate this. That would send XRP from $2 to $20 essentially overnight. So domino theory still in play. I do think that when that conversion would happen, there would be some liquidations out of U.S. bonds and the U.S. stock market. Here in our corner of the internet, not a big deal for us. For your everyday people with traditional 401ks and things like that, brokerage accounts, this could be a problem. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. I think at least on our side of the internet, we're going to be safe from any of that damage. And I hate to say it, but we'll probably absorb a lot of that liquidation. So, you know, be careful. If people know that you have XRP, there could be some resentment when this happens because they're going to see their retirements get slaughtered. But then they'll hear about XRP and they'll say, wow, this guy's like loaded while I'm poor, and it has a way of breeding resentment. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Gonna take a look at the chat, see if I missed anything. We got Alex from Dublin. Good morning, or I guess in your case, afternoon. Appreciate that you guys are liking the show. You know, every week we get a little bit more viewers, so that's been a lot of fun. I see that you guys got me all the way up to 27 likes. That's awesome. We just need 3 more and we get to 30. Not a huge deal. We'll grab more likes as more people jump in. Crypto Topaz says, could you foresee Japan calling back their money in XRP for faster payment instead of the yen? Well, I mean, it's in play, right? That could happen. The reason I don't think that it will is because a lot of these partnerships take a very, very long time to build up. And so even if there is a token that could do it faster, or if there's a better infrastructure for that, the fact that Ripple has people very high up in different circles means that, you know, it's kind of like a boys club. They may end up going with XRP purely on that alone. And when I was in the corporate world, before I went to YouTube, anything that we had to do as a decision making for the company I worked for was extremely slow. And once you made a decision, it was extremely hard to back out of. And if you did back out of it, it could sometimes take a year or two to get the replacement, because there's all the infrastructure that has to happen. Like, it's not necessarily like Ripple goes to Japan and says, hey, here's this XRP, and then it's over. There's framework that has to be built in. Like, the Japanese banks are going to have some sort of database or a client-side server that has to be able to take all these things in. So it's not as simple, oh, we don't want to use this, we want to use that. So I think that is what I would say as far as that's concerned, that I'm not too worried that the Bank of Japan will swap out, because it seems like, for better or worse, it's probably too late for them to do that. Real quick, something that's been very strange going on in my house lately. My Nest heater is heating my house beyond what the limit is, so I'm actually going to go turn my heat off real quick. My room is turning into a sauna. I don't know. This has only started happening in the past week, so it's a Google Nest. I don't know if they're pushing software updates to it that I just don't know about, but I'm going to go turn my heat off so that I don't turn into a sweating mess like I did yesterday. And give me like 10 seconds. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. Once spring hits, that problem should be solved one way or another. Let's catch up on the chats here. Greetings from Serbia. Ooh, let's see. It must be even later in the day for you. Glad you could make it. Appreciate that you're liking the content. We got ABK. Hey man, loving your channel. Do you think XRP is reaching $5? Percentage wise, I have a hard time giving out that kind of stuff, but I'll do my best. I've been saying here on the channel for a while now that my targets are on mid-January to early February. So we're in mid-January right now. It's January 14th. In my own personal opinion, I think over the next 3 weeks, we're probably going to see some very vertical movement in XRP. Where that lands, that's where I have a hard time guessing. So I don't know that it'd go to 5. It could go beyond 5. Maybe it stops at 4. It's hard for me to really put a good guesstimate on that. All I can say is that I'm expecting it to move very aggressively over the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I'd say, if you want me to put a percentage on that, I'd probably put it at like 90%. So I'm never going to say 99.9999 like other people do, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to see a more expensive XRP in the near future. And that's what kind of led to the video I made earlier this week about trying to get to that 10,000 XRP target, because I don't know how much longer people have to do that. By the way, perfect time to say this, but everything on this channel is just my own opinion. Dean, I'm throwing up your coin. Do your own research. You guys probably aren't going to be able to read the text on here, but it says right here, do your own research. This is not financial advice. By the way, if you guys really like this kind of stuff, Dean, I know you're watching. He and I are working. Whoa, just dropped it. He and I are working on setting something up to get you guys some merch. We've been waiting to get this channel a little bit bigger just so that there's enough volume or enough demand for that. But it's definitely something that we want to do. And keep an eye out for that. We'll have more news for it probably in like 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, if you want that kind of stuff, you can get your own right now. You don't have to wait for that. You can just go straight to his site and he'll make you whatever you want. But just for this channel's sake, I'm thinking of making some channel exclusive merch if you guys were interested in that. Let's see what else we got before we jump into other stuff. Andrew, what are the first 10 seconds look for you when you see XRP appreciate? I like this question. I'll tell you exactly what I'm going to do. Absolutely nothing. The there's two ways that you can screw up in life. It's through panic or being overly celebratory, right? Like you can even see this in football. Check this out. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of football, American football here in the United States, but I watch a lot of American football here. And almost every year, without fail, you'll see running backs or wide receivers start to celebrate before they've actually scored the touchdown, and they will drop the ball at the 99-yard line, resulting in no touchdown. Where am I going with this? What's the story? You want to make sure that you've secured the victory and then just chill out. There'll be time to celebrate later. If we do have a crazy price appreciation on XRP, I'm going to mark a calendar, or I'm going to mark a date on my calendar that's about 6 months out. And for those 6 months, I'm just chilling. I'm not selling. I'm not buying jewelry. I'm not getting the watch. I'm not getting the Lambo. Again, I don't know where XRP is going to land, but if any of this were to happen, it's business as usual for at least 6 months. Why? Well, I want to make sure that the price doesn't fall back down. I want to make sure that there's some stability here, because the last thing you want to do is go and buy a whole bunch of stuff. And then sometimes, if you buy like a Lambo, maybe you're not buying it with cash. Maybe you finance it thinking like, oh, well, XRP will keep going up. If it didn't, you could find yourself in a bad situation. So my goal when XRP moves, it's actually probably I'll just start a ad hoc live stream and we'll just talk about it. That's probably what I'll really do. Let's just go live. But we'll cross that bridge when it happens. I think it's coming. I do think it's coming. And something I want to address before we get too far in, I see we got up to 32 likes, so I appreciate that. I am very strongly considering going to Hedera's Dev Day. It's in Denver, Colorado. If I do this, I'll have to pay out of pocket. I was looking at flights. They're not too bad. I think I could probably cover this one on my own, and that'd be fine. XRP's Las Vegas show, or whatever you want to call it, their conference, it's at the end of April, beginning of May. I would like to go to this and cover all of the events. The tickets are kind of expensive. I mean, general admission, like, come on now, $589. Kind of an expensive ticket to get into a conference. But if I do go to this, I would give you guys as much coverage on that as possible, and I would be there at the event. I'm considering sending out some feelers. Maybe we'll see if there's some fundraising we can do, because I'd have to pay out of pocket to do all this, and that's just a ticket, not even counting the flight to Vegas, which probably isn't that bad, and also getting a hotel. But if I went to this and I did go to the after party, I'd probably just pay that out of pocket. But this would be at least a way for me to get in the door and see what's really going on and give you guys the most up-to-date exclusive info that I can. Might be a good way to shake hands with some important people there as well. Just throwing that out there. I'll probably bring it up a few more times over the next week or two. This is 100 days away, so I've been on YouTube 2 months. That's plenty of time to get this channel bigger, get more views, get more subscribers, all of that, and see if this is something we could crowdsource. As this channel is new, I'm doing this on a daily basis. Cash flow is a little tight right now, but just trusting the process and just making content and kind of keep my heads down and focusing on that. But this could be something, right? And maybe I just end up paying out of pocket for it, but just want to throw that out there. See what you guys think. Let me know if you guys would want me to go to this. I think this could be a really cool way to get some exclusive content, and then what better place to really learn the intricate details about these tokens than at their own conferences. So just throwing that out there. I want to see what you guys think. Good Ground asks, is Solana worth investing? I don't actually like Solana anymore. I have Solana. Solana was one of the first coins I bought when I first got into crypto. There's a few things with it that I don't even know if it's really their fault. I don't know if it's Solana's fault, but there's a lot of scamming, and it's kind of just got a shady community. All the rug pulls that you see, like even the Eric Andrews or Eric Adams or whatever his name is, the New York City coin guy. Yeah, Eric Adams. His rug pull token. Let me just make sure I'm right about this, but I think his rug pull token was on the Solana network. I'm not saying that is Solana's problem or their fault, but if their platform's hosting this kind of stuff, let me see if it's on CoinMarketCap. If they're hosting this kind of behavior, I don't know. That alone makes me not really like it. For some reason, I thought this was on CoinMarketCap, or at least it was yesterday. I don't want to necessarily waste too much time looking for this Eric Adams coin, but I could have sworn it was platformed on Solana. Let's see if there's an article that doesn't have a paywall. Maybe it was on ETH. Okay, no, in any case, we could dive into that another time. This story we probably could cover when I jump over to the Twitter section of the stream. But I guess just to wrap that point up, if a platform has that level of scamming going on, it makes me wonder if the devs are in on it, or why aren't they addressing it? What's going on there? So I personally am not really buying Solana anymore. In addition to that, Solana network has gone down. So, XRP, Ripple, or the XRPL has never had a single outage. Solana has had an outage, and it's not even being used at scale yet. So that's another reason, aside from the scamming, that I'm not too excited about Solana anymore. I think I missed some comments from a few of you guys up here. Let's see here. Maria Savage. I have some money to get about another 60, 600 and 900 XRP. This is the part where, this really teeters on the financial advice. So I guess I'm going to abstractly answer this question. I have some money to get another 600 and 900 XRP. Should I buy now or dollar cost average? While I can't tell you what to do, I'm going to say that if I found $2,000 on the sidewalk and I was holding on to $2,000, I would personally just put all of it into XRP. But that's a decision that you ultimately have to make. I don't see XRP staying at $2.17 for much longer. I mean, it might not even be at $2.17 by the end of this stream if it keeps moving the way it is. So again, I hate spreading FOMO, but at some point you do have to say, like, how much time is really left. And I think mid-February it might be too late to buy XRP in the single digits. Not saying it's going to happen, but that's just what I'm anticipating. We got some movement here. I'm gonna have to scroll through the chat. Josh has got Miner XRP, Stellar, and XDC, the ultimate trio. A lot of you guys like XDC. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll keep looking into it. Maybe I've been hard on it. We'll see. Solana will run, but if you want 50x or more, there are better coins, of course. Well, that's another good point, right? Some of these coins have giant market caps. So XRP has a very specific reason why the market cap doesn't matter. But if you look at something like Solana with an $84 billion market cap, in order to get to $300, this would have to go to $160 billion. Now, I do believe that trillions are going to be dumped into, I don't want to use the word dumped. Trillions of dollars are going to be injected into the crypto market very shortly if this Clarity Act does in fact get signed tomorrow. But if you look at a coin, for example, like Quant, which I just recently started buying myself, they've only got a market cap of 900 million. So if trillions get moved into this market, if Quant were to even get 50 billion of that, you know, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot of money in the crypto world, that would multiply Quant by 60x. So, you know, 50 billion into Quant gives you a 60x, but 50 billion into Solana would only give you maybe $70. So that would be a 50% return for Solana as opposed to Quant's potential 60x. That's how I look at it. The reason XRP is different is because if this gets the lion's share of adoption, I just realized that my screen's not perfectly cropped here. Sorry about that, you guys. I hope that wasn't too distracting. Now you can see the price. If XRP stays, or if XRP gets the mainstream adoption, we all think that it will, doing cross-border settlements, then the market cap doesn't really matter. It's kind of a non-issue. Something like Solana, I think market cap will continue to be relevant. So that's why I'm saying it's different for XRP. And that's really the reason I don't buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already at 2 trillion. I mean 1.9, but we'll round up. To get to a 200K Bitcoin, you've got to have 4 trillion. And I think it will happen, actually. I do. But why double your money when there's the potential to 50x your money? Or maybe even 100x, you know? And the Bitcoin maxis would probably get upset and you don't know anything, but like I'm following the growth. Bitcoin already did it. There was a point when you could buy a pizza with 10,000 Bitcoins. The people that are early on Bitcoin have already won the game. So I don't know why they get so upset when people buy utility coins or alt season coins, because it's too late to buy a Bitcoin in the single digits. That's just my opinion on that. Crypto Topaz, do you have people in your inner circle that might show resentment towards you if XRP... I thought about this very hard. And me being the sneaky devil that I am, I have basically dragged all of my friends and family members, by the way, kicking and screaming to the Coinbase app to make them buy XRP. So that way, you know, even if someone only bought 50 XRP, if this thing really does rip, that's enough to make them be like, all right, he's helped me out. They're not buying it at the levels that you and I are buying at, but I did think about that, and I kind of planned ahead, if that makes sense. So we got a lot of comments. I'm going to try and rip through these and then show a few more tokens, and then we're going to move over to YouTube here in about 10 minutes, 20 minutes to watch the Paul Barron Clarity Act video, because I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. FRD's I got a top 5: XRP, HBAR, Flare, XLM, Quant. That's actually pretty much my top 5. The only thing I would do is add Chainlink to that. So really, I guess it's a top 6. If I had a top 6, in the order I would put them in would be XRP, Flare, HBAR, probably Stellar, Chainlink, and then Quant. Maybe swap Quant for Stellar at some point. But again, in a sea of hundreds of tokens, being in the top 6 is good. So maybe the order doesn't matter too much when they're all going to do extraordinarily well. We got Dean, maybe raffling off an XRP barrel and a grand prize. That'd be a cool idea. And some XRP coins for the winners. That would definitely be sweet. I think let's talk about that offline. I think there's a good idea there. Flare's going to be huge, bro. I like Flare. I like Flare too. Flare's community manager reached out to me. We haven't started the conversation yet, but I did get their message. I'll probably reach out to them after this stream. I don't know what capacity they want to, collaborate with me on, but anything would be sweet. Flare being in my top 3 for sure would, for me, that's really cool. I just started this channel. It's kind of surreal that it's really picking up and people are watching. By the way, I know people have been asking for an HBAR video. If I go to this event, it's in a month. I would be making a lot of HBAR content after going to this, so it's something I'm definitely thinking about. We got RX can flow. It's not high. It'll be at $50 soon. If you're referring to XRP, I do tend to agree with that, but I hesitate to give those giant price predictions just because there's so many people on YouTube already doing that. But I do think that the clock is ticking as far as getting XRP. If it's at $50 a token, that's the point where I'd probably stop buying and just hold on to what I've got for basically the rest of my life, because I'll be getting it into Firelight. Steph, away from the main financial coins, when I look at AI tokens, there are bigger ones like TAO and Render, but I like smaller AI token like Aether. I actually bought TAO for the first time earlier this week, but I didn't make a video on it because I still don't know enough about it. But I bought enough of it to be able to say okay, now I have to do my research on it. I think having some AI exposure is a great idea, and I don't really currently have AI in my crypto portfolio. I guess I have one TAO token, but that's something that I am currently researching. I'd like to talk more about it once I have enough, once I understand it enough to be able to relay that info. I just got a text message from a buddy. He wants me to roast Jay Claver. I don't know, man. I don't want to necessarily open that can of worms. I appreciate that my friends are watching this stream, though. That's pretty cool. ABK, one more question. Do you think the Clarity Act is a buy the rumors, sell the news event, or actually pick us back up? There's a chance that what we're seeing right now live is buying the rumor, because the Clarity Act doesn't get voted until tomorrow. This type of movement on an institutional level might mean they already know which way the vote's going to go. We'll have to see. But we're going to be covering that tomorrow. I'm going to see what time the vote is at, and it's possible I might even just stream it. I don't know if that'd be kind of boring for you guys, but we could at least try it. But I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on that. Top 5, do you have any opinions on DOT? Would it make sense to take a loss and rotate that into Flare? I don't know anything about DOT. I'm just hearing about it for the first time. I traditionally don't like rotating unless you're truly done with something. I'm looking at DOT right now. It looks like it's doing fine, up 22% in the past month. I guess the year chart tells a different story, but I don't generally like rotating. I've had some things that I rotated, and as soon as I got out of them, they went up, and that's why I don't day trade. That's why I don't micromanage my portfolios. I still hold Bitcoin. I still have the original Bitcoins that I was buying before I discovered XRP. You could say, well, why don't you rotate those? In the off chance that I'm wrong, at least having some Bitcoin it's like a consolation prize for getting it wrong. So when I buy something, I hold it and I just, whether it goes up or it goes down. The only exception I'd make to that is if I'm holding like a stock, which hasn't happened in a long time. But well, I did this with Snapchat. I held Snapchat for like 2 years and I lost like 80% on it. And so I just harvested it for a tax write-off. Interesting thing. I want to talk about that real quick because I just had an aha moment. Oh, and it looks like I'm sweating. This has been a pretty bad year for everybody's portfolio. I bet all of us can find some token that we're down a substantial amount on, unless you literally just started buying. With crypto, because you can buy and sell instantly, this is definitely teetering on the line of financial advice. So this is just conjecture. But if you were to sell a token at a loss and then immediately rebuy it, like instantly rebuy it, that would count as a taxable or a tax loss event. Now you can claim up to $3,000 a year in losses. So you'd have to do the math to find out how do you get to a $3,000 loss. So you'd have to have the unrealized gains, or I guess the unrealized losses, to add up to 3,000. If you had that, you could wash your crypto. I should have made this video back in December when it was really advantageous to do that. But you could still do it right now in 2026 because I do think the markets will go up. If you wanted to wash $3,000 worth of capital gains, you just sell something at a loss right now, immediately buy back into it. And you might need to have a little bit more upfront to pull this off. So like, let's say you're holding Bitcoin. To get $3,000 in losses in Bitcoin, you probably would need to be holding like $15,000 worth of Bitcoin, because it has to fall 3,000. You know, it's like, it's not like you have $3,000, then it goes to 1,500 and you sell. It's got the unrealized part has to equal 3,000. So I'm not saying anyone do that because I don't know. The tax stuff is where I start to get a little nervous as a content creator. Last thing I want is to get sued, but it's something that I myself did do. I did harvest some losses and I immediately bought those tokens back. I'll have to talk with a legal person and make sure that it's okay for me to be talking about this stuff, but I guess I kind of just did. So we'll see hopefully nothing comes of that, but that's, what I personally have done. Let's see. XRP is settlement rails. So XRP is all transactions. I tend to agree. He's got Josh has got a comment above that. XDC is a trade finance token. So basically all trade from one nation to another nation. Oil, imports, exports, ships. That's XDC. And then XRP is the settlement. I did read that, and I think that maybe I've been too hard on XDC and maybe I should be giving it a fair shake. I think a lot of these coins work in tandem with each other, which is why I'm getting into quant, because it seems like quant is like, I play a lot of games. I'm a gamer. So like, you ever played a game like World of Warcraft where like you got the tank and then you got the healer and you got like the DPS, and you get all of them together and they can go into a dungeon and clear it, but you couldn't clear a dungeon with just one type of character. Like you couldn't go into a dungeon with 5 healers and clear the dungeon. So I do think that the crypto space works the same way, and that there's different coins that do different things. And that's kind of why I like to have one of the best of every coin. So like XRP is the cross-border settlement. Quant would be the interoperability that connects things together. XDC, if maybe I'll look more into it. Maybe there's something there. Flare's the DeFi. HBAR does a lot of tokenization and also pretty involved with AI and military operations. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Some of that stuff is conjecture only. That's kind of how the military operates. But that's kind of why there's all these different tokens that have different features, and that's why I'm looking at TAO, because if TAO covers the AI space, then I've got a crypto for each market sector and they're all going to work in tandem with each other. Crypto Topaz, do you think Flare goes past 5 cents this year? I do. I think it goes way beyond that. I would be devastated if I'm wrong. I don't think I'll be wrong. I think Flare is going to really turn some heads this year, and people on Twitter will stop laughing about it. Or you know how on Twitter is. Maybe they'll just say that we got lucky. You never know. But Flare is in my top 2 for a reason. I think DeFi is going to really, really change the way that people look at crypto. Looks like we're almost caught up to the chat. Perfect time for us to transition. We got a few more. Oh, we got Kristen Anderson. 5 Blood Death Knights can do it. Well, yeah, but that's from Wrath and onward. If you played Classic WoW like I did, you'd need 5 Fury Warriors. 5 Fury Warriors could do it. I'm sorry if you guys don't play WoW and you're like, I don't know what this dude's talking about. There was a time I wanted to become a WoW streamer, but for whatever reason, like, I was like, I'm just not, I wouldn't know what to like do in this game. It's kind of boring to watch. Good Ground, Texas. As someone new to crypto, can you explain what halving means? Yes. So Bitcoin, we'll go a bit. I'm going to roll over to Bitcoin so we can look at it. In Bitcoin's white papers, there's something called a halving event. So when you mine Bitcoin, and I'm trying to think of how much of this I want to unpack because we could be here a while. But essentially, Bitcoin runs like math equations. So imagine going to a genie and saying like, and the genie says to you, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100 trillion. And if you get it right, I'm going to give you a reward. That reward is a block onto the chain, essentially a Bitcoin. So you have all these people out there, they're all competing in the same game. That it's the same answer for everybody. So you have all these machines everywhere. China, United States, the Trumps, and they're running these algorithms that are basically just shooting numbers into an address bar until one of them hits. And the answer of these questions is like, I mean, even trillion is small. It's like 10 to like the 22nd power. So when one of these machine hits, they get what's called a token, or they add their block to the chain. And once a certain amount of blocks are added to the chain, they call that consensus, and a new game starts. Well, each of these rewards are designed to occur every 10 minutes. So if you solve the riddle too fast, they're going to increase the difficulty of the next riddle. And if the riddle takes too slow, they actually will slow it, or they'll make it easier to solve. Where the halving comes into play is that we could pull this up as a reference too, just so you have something to look at. So originally, let's see if we get a good one. Some of these are more like charts. I want to look at like physical numbers. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if this looks good. I'm going to scroll this down. Perfect. So right now, or not right now, but when Bitcoin launched 2009, one block would give you 50 Bitcoins. And then it would have a halving cycle about 4 years later. Then it would only give 25. The next halving cycle, the next 4 years later, gives 12 and a half. And it follows this, it quite literally half until where we're at right now, you're getting 3.1. The next halving cycle, you're only going to get a Bitcoin and a half for solving these blocks. So it will eventually get to a point where Bitcoin mining, to even get one coin out of the system, or I don't know if system's the right word, but to get one Bitcoin, you're going to have to do all this crazy mining. You're going to have multiple hits. Because by 2032, if I'm doing my head math right, that block reward is going to be something like 0.75 or 0.76 or something like that. And you can see this per day, like the amount of Bitcoins mined per day, it's going to get down there too. So you might only see like 100 Bitcoins mined per day starting 2032, which, you know, is still like 6 years from now. But the last Bitcoin's not supposed to be mined until like 120 years from now or something like that. I don't think we'll be using Bitcoin 120 years from now, so it's kind of a moot point. Did that answer your question? Was that too much? Let me know, because I don't want to lose you at the same time. We got it's saying FRD is saying it's blurry. Are you saying the screenshot's blurry, or are you saying the whole stream's blurry? It looks clear on my screen. I'm gonna zoom this in real fast, so sometimes I forget to check and see if you guys are seeing this good. Yeah, maybe that is blurry, isn't it? Well, anyways, right here, if you can see it, here's the block rewards, and then here's the per day. Well, I'm sorry. I just take a screenshot. We could probably try that. Well, I'm hoping that you guys get the idea. I don't necessarily want to stick to this one for too long. Let me get this thing back to normal size. That should be good. Were you guys not able to really get anything out of this screenshot? If it's too blurry, I don't know. It looks fine on my end, but I'm only looking at it through my cell phone. So yeah, on my phone it looks fine. That's okay. We'll keep moving. Let me see. Did I catch up with everything here? Arcan says, do you like playing MOBAs? I used to play the game Heroes of the Storm, which was Blizzard's version of like League of Legends or Dota. I've played every Blizzard game. I'm a Blizzard and a Halo kind of guy, so played all the Halo games. I've played every Blizzard game. World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft. Overwatch was my least favorite, but I did play that one too. Dean says it's good. Sweet. Vector says it's good. So we'll keep moving. We are at noon, so I want to switch over to YouTube. This video I watched last night. It's a little long. It's 18 minutes, but it's really good. It's a really good video, and I think we're gonna get a lot of good information out of this. I'll try to let Paul do most of the talking, but there are parts that I want to add my own commentary, so I'll pause the video when that does occur. And give me some kind of like thumbs up if the volume's good. I want to make sure it's not like overly loud for you guys, but that's not quiet either.
Banks are winning. I am definitely paying attention now. You have all of my attention. Let's break it down today. I do want to thank our sponsor, and that, of course, is Tangem. Speaking of self-custody, which is going to be a big theme today, you guys need to start doing it. And, of course, you can do it over at tangem.com. Using our link down below, you can get into your own secure crypto hardware wallet that works with your phone. Apple, Android, doesn't matter. Start now, guys, because we might have some clarity around this. We're going to break it all down for you. Use our link down below. Get some juice there. Listen, Clarity Act signed into law. This is what happened this morning. We get the House markup. It drops into the market, and immediately people...
Real quick, I want to add some color to this because I don't think that what he said might sound some confusing to people. This is like a prediction app. So he just said Clarity signed into law. That's what people are predicting. That's not actually what happened. The vote's tomorrow.
People thought there was going to be a delay, so it dropped all the way down to 21%. People came back and said, no, we're going to have the vote. And now it has risen back up here to 51% as we're recording right now, which has been climbing over the last few hours. And we're going to break down all of what happened in the Clarity Act markup and what this means going forward. The biggest issue that you kind of have to consider is what Chair Paul Atkins is doing here. This is a big week for crypto. Congress is on the cusp of upgrading our financial markets for the 21st century. I'm wholly supportive of Congress on doing this. And of course, the key here is it puts more power into the SEC and the CFTC, which is very critical going forward as we see a lot of these assets are going to turn to a commodity immediately. And I'll explain that here in a second. Other things that were driven out on this is Senator Lummis, of course, talking about after months of hard work, don't retreat from our progress. And this is in reference to the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. So if she's saying don't retreat, and one of the big takeaways from the markup was that we lose all of our passive yields and the bank gets to take those away, that seems like a retreat already. So I don't necessarily like that. So that either puts me in a position where Senator Lummis is pro-bank right now, or maybe there's another play into this that she's considering further into this as the vote takes out. But right now, the banks are in a position right now going forward.
If you're not up to speed on kind of what the drama is, the Clarity Act, the big hang up right now is around DeFi and stablecoins. So as it exists right now, if you have something like RLUSD in your cold wallet, it generates something like a 4% yield, very similar to how, a treasury bond or T-bills would function. With the Clarity Act, if it passes, that's going away. So your RLUSD, your USDC, your Tether, those will no longer give you passive yield if you're holding them. I don't know if that many people are actually holding stable coins to begin with, because you are only getting like 4%, 5% yield on it. I don't want to say it's like a non-issue to me, but maybe it's not the most important thing. You can still transact with stable coins. That part's not going to change. Is it really that big a deal? Let's let him keep talking. I have my own thoughts.
Here was Eleanor Terrett talking about the yield update, which is the whole issue of today. Banks may have won this round on stablecoin yield. The latest draft, this was on page 189, says companies cannot pay interest for just holding balances. So if you're passive, that's over. It's banned. If you're active, it's a different thing. And I'm sure there's going to be new products, all that kind of thing. And I just wonder, when you look at this, because the winners of this will be, if it goes through the way it is right now, and there's a lot more here to break down, but if it goes through the way it is right now, the banks will get these stablecoin yields because they're going to continue to go out there and pull this. But they're just not going to give it to you unless you're active and you're doing some sort of risk management within these. But other things that play into this, of course, is KYC AML rules that will play into it, still holding strong. And the other issue is self-custody. Self-custody being protected, and also DeFi being carved out, which these are both good things going forward. So it's a real question of whether or not you would say, would you be for this if they take away these yields, or should you hold the line as a voter out here? Let me go to this clip real quick.
The stance I currently have, and this is just my opinion, I love the discourse. There's definitely pros and cons here. You never really win a negotiation or a deal 100%. If the Clarity Act is an 80% win, I can live with the 20% loss. And basically that means like the stablecoin yield, if it means we get all the other stuff, at this time, I can deal with it. Sure, we all want this 100% win, but that it could happen. I feel like it should happen, but the reality is that it isn't happening. If we have to give them the stablecoin stuff, if that gets the Clarity Act passed, I'm on a level right now where I'm kind of okay with it. And then, the whole idea for me is DeFi in the first place. So getting your tokens staked, getting involved in lending. If the Clarity Act makes that more doable for us, then that's the pathway forward for me. That's just kind of how I think about it. I'd like to hear what you guys think, though. I'm definitely open-minded to other perspectives.
Because this will get into Patrick Witt and what he is talking about in terms of the banks. Take a look.
Imagine being able to build
by the
an
way,
app
I
with
still
your
have
name
to
on
get
it,
YouTube
just
Premium.
by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
And I will
I'll get it. I promise. I'll get YouTube Premium.
read your tweet out. It says, for the anti-rewards/yield crowd currently threatening to withhold their support for the Clarity Act, I would remind you that tanking the bill over this issue preserves status quo, which you allege is intolerable. You will have achieved nothing. Be reasonable. Oof.
Great tweet. I think we do have a compromise that is going to make, the banks happy and also make the crypto industry happy. As you mentioned, a week ago, I didn't think that was going to be possible. We've given enough concessions. We've arrived at enough compromises where as high as 6 Democrats voting for it. So,
all right, that was Patrick Witt, who is the executive director on the President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets. Do you agree, though? Do you think that we should forego something that's already been ruled on in the Genius Act and allow the banks to get a second shot and a second bite at the apple? That's the real question mark, because this takes away passive yields, which is what you're earning today on most centralized exchanges. Or do you think that this is something you are okay with giving up just to get through the other components of the bill? Let me know in the comments. I'd like to kind of hear what you guys have to say about this.
By the way, I've seen some new new viewers join the channel. If you guys could help me out, like the stream, and if you're enjoying this content, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. That way you'll get updates. We stream every weekday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Now I want to go to another clip here, because this is him saying that this is the thing that draws a line in the sand of what they won't do. And then we're talking about the Republicans. Take a look.
You guys have reached an agreement with the Democrats over ethics?
not yet. What we've made clear to Democrats throughout this is, we're not going to tolerate targeting the president. And so, we've provided that red line to them.
You kind of have to look at here is the fact that they are prioritizing this particular line in the sand. That's the part that I disagree with. And I think this is the thing that's kind of will most likely get a lot of people in crypto a little bit upset about this. And it goes further because we're already starting to see other things happening right now. And there needs to be a stop to this, just like there needs to be a stop to insider trading in Congress. Here's Eric Adams, and this was him tweeting about, of course, his token, NYC token. And then I've got a clip of him talking about this. Take a look.
So over the last couple of weeks, Adams has been taken to the streets, taken to your television screens to tell you
This guy's energy is way too high for me.
about New York City token.
He says it's part of an effort to fight anti-Semitism using cryptocurrency.
Yo, what?
I am not going anywhere.
Boo, you lost all your money. Goodbye. That's a 1 minute chart, man.
$580 million market cap, and then it crashed 80% in just a matter of minutes. He actually removed the USDC attached to this $3.4 million scam.
Well, after 30 minutes, he decided to let anti-Semitism win.
Moving Eric Adams' net worth up from 2 million to 3.7.
70% belong to one wallet and one wallet only. The top 10 holders accounted for 98% of all the tokens.
Crime season. You're going to prison. You're going to jail. Bro, you're going to jail.
And that's what they do have to stop. So
I almost wondered, this was the conspiracy theorist in me. Last night I was watching this. I was thinking, did they offer up Eric Adams as like a sacrificial lamb to try to torpedo the Clarity Act? I mean, all of this happening 2 days before the bill gets voted on. Or maybe it wasn't 2 days, but at least the week of. Kind of makes you wonder. It's like any reasonable person would know that rug pulling a meme coin, a New York City meme coin, would be highly illegal, and it's going to result in something bad's going to happen to Eric Andrews or Adams, whatever his name is. Eric Adams, right? Yeah. Something bad's going to happen out of this. Like, how do you screw that up? How do you not realize that before you do it? It's just like the Hawk Tuah coin, but in this case, probably worse, because in Hawk Tuah's case, she was like a 21-year-old girl, obviously has no idea what crypto is, so she had someone in her ear telling her to do that. Eric Adams, he's been a pretty shady guy for quite a while now. How did he come up with such a terrible idea? Makes you wonder.
Well, I'm definitely in disagreement with where the position of what Witt is talking about. This is not a good thing. Hopefully this will get resolved in the outline. Again, I don't know if this is one of the things that will forego the Clarity Act in its entirety. That will be the real question. Really, it boils down to rewards. And here's the chief legal officer. This is Paul Graywall. He's been on, kind of fighting this issue for quite some time. Here's what he had to say about it. Take a look.
Hey everyone, Sam here. In this video, I'm going to show you what an XRP node is, the reasons to run your own node.
It's clear.
Maybe I'll get YouTube Premium today, so that doesn't happen in tomorrow's stream.
There is a concerted effort on the part of the banking industry to not only relitigate an issue that was resolved when the Genius Act was passed, but to really fundamentally entrench a competitive advantage for the industry when it comes to paying the economic benefits to holders and users of tokens in ways that we think are entirely counterproductive. But we think it's very important to call this out for what it is and to hold firm on this basic idea. Sharing economic benefits with participants in networks is frankly what crypto has always been about. And it's not up to Congress or anybody else to pick winners and losers.
In agreement with that, the real question is should we delay it? That was kind of one of the things that came out early this morning, is that we thought we might get a delay. The late night plea from Democratic senators on the banking committee for a full hearing on Thursday's markup. They're basically coming in and saying the same thing. Maybe we should delay this a little bit so we can get our heads around this. And I think this might be in order based on what we're getting right now. The question is do they rush or try to rush this through and end up having to do some last minute, concessions, which is the big issue here. Now, Patrick Witt comes on and he says there will be more concessions. Wait for it. The Senate is going to hit it. Take a look.
I do expect a bipartisan vote on Thursday.
Once the bill clears the Senate and goes back to the House, do you expect a lot of changes?
We're a bicameral legislature at the end of the day. The Senate was going to have its own pass at a lot of these issues, and it's a different dynamic there. We're not ignoring those concerns, so we're making sure that those issues are continuing to be addressed in the Senate product so that we don't have any issues over on the House side.
So I'm not necessarily in agreement with this, and I would invite Patrick Witt to come on to the show here. And let's talk about these, because these concessions, I think, are no-go zones for most of the crypto community, for freedom in general. If you believe that, let him know. Hit him out on Twitter. We'd love to have him on the show explaining why would you concede any of these scenarios into the Senate. It sounds to me like you're basically giving them the rule book of how to go in and get some concessions versus actually going in and saying this is the way we need to do it for the constituents that we represent.
Yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. Kind of hearkening back to that Red Dead Redemption analogy I made earlier on the stream, part of the appeal to crypto has been that it's like this unregulated wild, wild west. That's really what the original idea was. Make no bones about it, the Clarity Act basically eliminates that for good. So if you're thinking about it in the terms of being like an outlaw or a bandit, cowboy, whatever, as the railways come in and the civilization comes to the west, the ability to be a bandit or an outlaw just becomes impossible because you get all the lawmen. You're kind of ostracized from society altogether. And so the parallels I see going on here, I think what Paul is trying to get to here, is that the original idea for cryptocurrency, which was to be this security, anonymous driven banking, your coins, your wallet, or your keys, your wallet, not being able to be debanked, being able to have the freedom of movement to go to different countries and continue spending your money. The Clarity Act, I don't make any bones about it, is going to make that pretty much go away. And I think that's what he's upset with. But I want to hear what you guys think.
Freedom of the American people, especially around this issue. Now, Charles Hoskinson is very upset about this because he simply says you need to get this right. Take a look.
They run crypto the same way as that. They run healthcare the same way as that. They're running the tariff policy. You just see one after another and after another. And it's so deeply frustrating to me. I start with principles, then frameworks, your rules and strategy, and then your execution. They're just doing execution. What's the philosophy upon which the strategy comes? And then what are the checks and balances to regulate, make sure that this strategy doesn't go crazy? And financial regulation is the most important for this because you live with it for a long time. So if they just go pass a law and it's really shit law, we can end up living with that law for 93 years in this industry. So you start with principles. That was step one, and it was easy because we all wanted to do it. And then it became political, and then it became patronage, donate money to participate.
All right, so you know the situation. I think you know the position I'm in, and that is you've got to hold the line on a lot of these issues here. You cannot give in. I think the yield thing is still a huge issue, even though a lot of people would say, let that go, let the banks win a little. No, I don't think they should win a little. This is a changing of the guard, and they need to come in and align by what has already been put out in the Genius Act, and I think that's the issue. And when you look at the banks, so just don't say, hey, let's give it to them. I want to show you their earnings for that came in this week. Take a look.
Sex. I said it. Now you're probably thinking about it. And that's how it starts.
The big banks kick off earnings season when JP Morgan Chase reports on Tuesday morning, and big banks have outperformed over the last 12 months. You can see it on the chart here that nearly 70% in that time.
The bullish trend is still intact for JP Morgan.
I think all of them not only had a phenomenal year, but I think they're going to kick it off and have another year.
David, I think I'm in real time, I'm having a dot connecting thing on here. JP Morgan, Canton. Maybe there is something there. It's a war on Wall Street, and I mean, here you go, right here in the corner, JP Morgan. Oh, you guys can't see it because my screen's not fully cropped. Yeah, there we go. I don't know. There could be something to this. To Mason, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on H-bar. Well, once I get through this video, we can talk about it for a minute.
Flat out a really good environment for the banks.
I think 2026 will be a year of large cap bank earnings strength.
There's 4,500 banks, and the opportunity for them to merge, to acquire, to consolidate. We're very focused on that.
Deserving of higher multiples? Well, what could go wrong that we're not thinking of?
President Trump has also decided that credit card companies will have to cap rates at 10% for a year. This is another where Wall Street just doesn't seem to care because it's too over the top. Because the bank stocks actually opened up and spent the rest of the day rallying.
Does it make you a little bit concerned?
No, not at all, Melissa. This administration has done an incredible job that they were going to loosen the corset of bank regulation around the banks, and they've done that very well.
Oh, it's simple. This is Wall Street betting that it's not going to happen.
What could go wrong?
You read my mind. What I really worry about is there's nothing to worry about. That's the worry.
Well, I think there is something to worry about here, guys, and that is the eventual flight of the entire population in terms of next generation finance and investors. And that's the concern right now. I would rather forego this Clarity Act getting passed if we end up with a bad act. And this is the issue. If these banks push it too far, this, of course, puts this back on the back burner, meaning no clarity this year, and it continues to be the Wild West, and banks continue to lose because there's no clarity there. This would be a bad thing if they don't get it through, because it's only going to double down on them. Here's another.
He actually brings up a really good point there. The Clarity Act is basically for the banks. If we've been watching this all unfold, most of these tokens are fully operational. They're ready to be used right now. And in addition to that, the banks are ready to use them. So the Clarity Act is kind of the final piece of the puzzle for them. If this gets kicked down the road, you know, the Wild West era continues. That means a lot of us don't necessarily get that price appreciation, but it hurts the banks the most because, well, they're the ones that have invested the most money into it. I mean, most of us are only able to contribute what we get from our paychecks. Most of the market cap lockup is, you know, these giant banks, institutions that have poured money into it. So he does have a good, interesting point there. It's definitely something to think about.
Another interesting section in the bill. All right, so at the end of the day, when you look at this, there is a little hope here. And I would say when you consider some of the upside to it, so if we do get a semi-average bill or a bad bill, there are some potentials here. One, of course, is the token classification, non-ancillary assets. These are ETPs. And the ones that would play into that right now would be XRP, Solana, Litecoin. These are all the ETPs and ETFs. Doge is out there, Chainlink, Bitcoin, and of course ETH. Those day one would be considered commodities, and that immediately starts to put a lot of activity in these tokens because that's where the major part of traditional finance would start to migrate to. So think about that.
Oh, if I would have paused this a second earlier. H-bar was on that list, so Let me see if I can just scrub this back a second or two. Yeah, let's, that's good. So, you know, tokens live and die by their partnerships. HBAR being part of the ETF space means that, for better or worse, it's in the ecosystem. And I'll talk more about HBAR after the video's done, but there's a lot of stuff that the hash graph technology does that might arguably be superior to blockchain, and they don't really have any other competition. There's not a whole lot of hash graph technology out there besides HBAR. So if everyone else is blockchain, HBAR is hash graph. It's kind of like going from like Microsoft to Linux. It's interesting. We'll talk more about it later.
A lot of activity in these tokens because that's where the major part of traditional finance would start to migrate to. So think about that. Can you imagine Doge winning big time on this? Another thing that was a big benefit, of course, the way the markup comes in is it does protect self-custody. A federal agency may not prohibit, restrict, or otherwise impair the ability of covered or user self-custody digital assets, including a self-hosted wallet, meaning self-custody is intact the way it is right now. Now, could they do something down the road in terms of you coming out of self-custody into onboarding, which means most likely KYC, AML, frames and rails? Yeah, some of that could be, but I think the other bigger picture you have to look at is that this is just the beginning. Once you approve this, DeFi starts to proliferate throughout the land, around the world. I think it starts to shift the dynamics, meaning there's going to be a whole slew of new products and services, including off-ramps, on-ramps, and all the assets that are traditionally in normal finance are going to start to migrate. This is where I think the banks lose. It might be a Trojan horse that's good for the industry in general. The last clip I want to go to is one where Vlad is talking about this as well. This, of course, is the CEO of Robinhood. Take a look.
Now, what am I doing? I'm sitting here in heaven, but you know what I'm sitting on here? 1,000.
Looks like I'll need to have it by tomorrow. The YouTube Premium.
Are smart. They're not only smart and doing like careful analysis and posting it on social media. AI technology is very popular. People are adopting it, but the AI companies themselves are very unpopular. They don't have that many fans. The people rushing to defend them are either venture capitalists or, AI researchers that work at these companies. Compare that to crypto. If the crypto industry is under threat from regulatory overreach, even if just someone says something negative about Bitcoin, you just have an army of retail people that just take the knives out. And I think it's because the one thing crypto got very, very right, from basically the genesis of it, is making it so that normal people can have crypto. And I think AI doesn't have that property. I think people are going to get angrier and angrier. If regulations come, the everyday person might not be on the side of the big AI companies. If you're in Venezuela, you don't have access to those things. And that's actually why stablecoins have been so popular. A lot of these people are in countries that have unstable governments, unstable central banks. If they don't have functional banking systems, crypto will evolve with tokenization to make it easy to distribute US stocks and other investments overseas as easily as stablecoins have done it to dollars.
Yeah, this is going to become a little bit of a tug of war, and it's kind of the haves and the have-nots. I talk about this often, is that you have a certain class that right now is sitting on most of the wealth. You have another class that is emerging, that are very tech savvy, very oriented, and very easily adoptable into crypto in general. Those are the ones that are the future. And I think this stops no matter what. Like, Alden says, nothing stops this train. And I think if you look at what's happening just in RWAs and tokenized stocks, this is a good example of it. We're talking about X stocks right there. This is the kind of the yellow. You can barely see it, but right there you see X stocks versus securitized backed finance. We already talked about this before. This is where it outruns traditional finance. And X stocks is retail.
He's got Ondo on there, by the way. Ondo's another token I'd probably put in my top 10.
This is what Vlad was getting at, is that there's no way you can keep this from the emerging population that understands where this technology is going. And I think that is the problem that right now Congress does not have their head around in terms of how this clarity goes through. So it's still up in the air. There's only one thing you can do, guys, and that is go out there right now, let your congressman know. When you log into Stand With Crypto, it's going to pop up a deal where it gives you your name, address, all that good stuff, finds your senator, and it finds your House rep. You guys can put out information that says, protect my yields. That's all you have to say. Stay away from my effing yields. That's it. And I think that is the thing, at least we hope, that will pull this across. Of course, the big issue right now is still dealing with the future of how Clarity is going to be. It's going to be a crazy week.
So that was a pretty interesting video. We'll have to see how this all shakes out tomorrow. I don't know if there's enough time to email your congressman and before this thing goes out, and even if you could, they're probably not going to read through hundreds of them. That's my pessimistic approach. I want to hit the H-bar stuff before I forget, and then I want to look at this Flare ETF. So H-bar does a lot of really cool things. Part of the purpose of me going this is I want to see it used live, so this would kind of give me some hands-on experience with it. But if you don't already know, all these different coins that we're buying, like 99% of them are all blockchain technology. And then Hedera, Hashgraph, and I guess Quant as well, are like the 1 and 2 coins that are not actually blockchain technology, but something else entirely. So Hedera's Hashgraph, I probably am not the most tech-savvy guy to explain it. But it can execute transactions at a breakneck speed. I think they can handle up to 10,000 per second, and they settle in like 2 seconds. So you could send H-bar back and forth from a wallet, and it would arrive to the other wallet before you can even open up the screen and swipe it, and if that kind of makes sense. Beyond that, H-bar is, like I always say, these coins live and die by their partnerships. If H-bar has partnerships already, it's going to make it so much more possible for it to have giant price appreciation. I saved a tweet. Oh, this is an H-bar tweet. I saved another tweet, or an X, or whatever we're supposed to call them these days. It might be down the line here, but by the way, I want to give a shout out to Dilbert. We'll save that for the end. There's maybe I just have to search it. Maybe it's really far back. I had a tweet saved at one point that showed all of the different H-bar partnerships. There's like 50 of them, and there's quite a lot. I'll do some more digging on that, and maybe we'll just make it into an entire video. In fact, maybe I'll just search real fast just to see what we get. But the partnerships are a big deal. They do a lot with the U.S. government, like a lot. And then them getting an ETF, it's just more bull indicators that H-bar is going to do well. I could see $1 H-bar happening. If it doesn't happen this year, it'll definitely happen next year. I'm trying to see if I can very quickly find the tweet that had all their partnerships on it. Let's see what this guy's saying. This famous 4chan predictor calling all-time highs for H-bar this year. They're saying $3. I don't know who this guy is. It's just a tweet I just saw, but I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility. So it's something I'm keeping a close eye on. I can't seem to find the tweet I was looking for, so I'll just look for it offline or after the stream. But there's a lot of really good things to say about H-bar, tokenization of real-world assets. It's going to have some integration with AI. I know TAO is the AI-focused coin, but H-bar is going to have a piece to play in that, and that's why I'm really bullish on it. But I can get you better information for that, probably for tomorrow's stream even. I want to see about this Flare ETF, because this is breaking news to me. I didn't know that they had filed. So let's see what we get. This is AI. So someone, CS Gaming said T.O. Creum. Is that how you said it? Yeah, here we go. So, okay, so this is proposed. So it, okay. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. It looks like it's just proposed. I don't know if it's been approved or if it has been. I'm not seeing articles for it. Maybe the AI answer has a better indicator for that. I'm not seeing any dates on here. If Flare gets an ETF, that's just more reason for me to be bullish on it. So definitely going to be looking for that. Beyond that, I want to jump back over to Twitter. There were things I wanted to cover before we close out. We got about a half hour left. By the way, keep asking questions. If you joined the stream recently, go ahead and give the stream a like. We're almost up to 50. I think that'd be a nice benchmark for us to hit. Okay, here we got something. HBAR will be locked into the new age advanced payment system ecosystem forever. So we might be seeing, if this is what it looks like, there could be some Apple partnership going on with HBAR. I'm just going to briefly read this through. Hedera has developed a set of advanced tools for AI governance and data provenance, which may soon be implemented in the open source Apple AXL Learn. So this is all really great stuff. I don't know how substantiated some of these Twitter posts are. But, you know, if Hedera is partnering up with Apple, then like I was saying, coins live and die by their partnerships. So this is the kind of stuff that when I see it, makes me want to have more of it. I'm going to go back to my saved bookmarks here. This is totally unrelated, but I saved it because I thought it was funny. I don't know if you guys know, but Stephen A. Smith, he instead of saying Christian Kirk, who I believe plays for, he used to play for, I think, the Jags. I guess he probably plays for Houston now. The AI videoed Charlie Kirk onto him because Stephen A. Smith said Charlie Kirk instead of Christian Kirk. But I saved some of these memes. I thought they were funny. We got J-Pow DJing. This guy here, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, Young Hong Kim. Supposedly the smartest guy in the world. He's been posting a lot of XRP tweets lately. Now, whether or not this dude's the real deal or not, I don't know, but some of the comments on this are pretty funny. I guess he could be kind of like the... man, I don't want to get myself in trouble. Is he Korean? I would feel like he might be Korean. I don't know. I don't want to be wrong. Yeah, well, in any case, interesting guy. He kind of came up out of nowhere. Does anyone else notice that? Like, I had never heard of this guy until like 2 months ago, and now it seems like everyone's talking about him. Moving down, I know some of you guys like World Liberty Financial. So they've just launched a crypto lending program. Is this something we can actually interact with? No, it's just a picture. One of the top tweets, politics entering DeFi again. So Trump, very polarizing guy. You either love him or you hate him. Okay, sweet. I got it right. He's South Korean, the Yunhan guy. I don't have any World Liberty Financial. I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm probably not going to buy it at this time. Probably going to focus more on stuff like this. Hedera, still a very big, can't say enough good things about it. Still in my top 3. And then this is an interesting one. This is someone here who really does not like the Clarity Act. It's kind of a long read. I probably won't read the whole thing. But it's kind of saying the same things that Paul Barron was saying in that video, that the Clarity Act is a Trojan horse. It's going to wipe out a lot of security. It's going to make the whole not your keys, not your tokens thing kind of go away, because it's sounding like you might have to start registering stuff like that. We'll see. Don't fully know how this is going to unfold. I want to see what time the Senate votes on this. What time does the Senate vote on Clarity Act? Oh, this, I don't know if this is out of date. Right here it says Senate delays the Clarity Act. Is this a... This article might be old. I wouldn't mind watching to see when this thing happens, if we could watch it live. It might be kind of boring, so I don't know how much of that we would actually do, but one way or another, I'm trying to get the answer to this as soon as possible, because it's going to let us know which direction things go going forward. So I got a little tickle in my throat right now. But yeah, let's see here. I'm getting a little bit to the end of my tweets. I know we got about 20 minutes left. We can kind of open this up if you guys have got questions. Otherwise, we might end it, a few minutes early here. So I gotten through pretty much all the news that I have today. Maybe we can kind of look at the Dilbert stuff real quick. Oh, we cannot look at that tweet. If you guys don't know, Scott Adams did unfortunately pass away yesterday. It's not exactly shocking news. He did have, I believe it was prostate cancer. I know that not everybody was the biggest fan of this guy, but, it's still sad to see. 68 is pretty early. It's pretty young, so... pour one out for Scott if you got one. I know it's probably too early for most of us to have a beer, but sad news all the same. Things in Iran are really getting bad. I saw some things. I want to be careful clicking into any of these. I don't know what kind of footage we're going to see, but if it's true that Iran's having what they're saying is allegedly a massacre, I want to be careful clicking into the videos or clicking into the photos. Like this, for example, could be too much for YouTube. But I keep track of stuff like this because I want to know what's going on in the world, especially with finances. War and finance tend to go hand in hand. So we're going to keep an eye on what's going on in Iran. If Iran's government collapses, we probably won't see the Strait of Hormuz close, which was a domino in Jake Claver's theories. So doesn't mean that the reverse carry trade doesn't happen. It just means that oil won't be the catalyst. So want to keep an eye on this stuff, see what's happening. It's still interesting because in Venezuela, there's been the seizure of those oil fields. That could be another way to get oil to Japan. So I don't know if that particular domino is going to fall. But that's just kind of where my head's at. Vector says it's reality. It shouldn't be censored. I agree. It's a hard line to toe here on YouTube because you just never know what's going to get your channel a strike or not. So I just want to be cautious with that. If we start doing member-only streams, I think that's something we could kind of unpack a little bit more because I think there's a little bit less YouTube interference with those. I'm gonna catch up on a few more comments here. We might end this a few minutes early because I got through all the news I wanted to cover today. Mr. Sojourner, I can't transfer my XRP to a cold wallet right now. The feature is currently unavailable on Webull. Should I be worried? I don't use Webull. But, you know, it is, I mean, yeah, I don't want to say be worried, but that's kind of the reason why I don't like, it's kind of the reason I don't like keeping stuff on the exchanges. So I would say just you keep trying, but, I mean, is that concerning? That's definitely concerning. This is Webull. Webull's more for like stocks, right? I don't personally use it, so I don't actually know. But yeah, if those of you guys watching, if you don't have a cold wallet, I really recommend that you get one. You don't have to get Decent. That's just the one that I use. Odin says, I had trouble transferring mine as well. Apparently, the exchanges could stop withdrawals if they start getting low, and if they ran out, they could simply refund your money. He's 100% right about that. If XRP hits a true supply shock, that's going to make it... I covered it on the stream yesterday, but there's a possibility that people on Coinbase or Kraken or Uphold, they might only have paper XRP, meaning in their system it says that you own XRP, but they don't actually have the XRP to give you if you try to transfer off of the platform. I really hope that's not what's happening for you, Mr. Sojourner, but I can't discredit that as a possibility. So gonna jump up here to Will. Stepping back from specific tokens, what's your general view on trading versus building cash flow skills or businesses? You know, you want to do both, right? So even if you are like asset rich, you still need to have cash flow, or there still needs to be some movement of money. Otherwise, what you withdraw from your portfolio would eventually go to zero. So I think it's important to, you know, not only have the asset, but find ways to monetize it in a way that gets you cash flow. That's kind of why people like real estate so much. That's why I'm so into DeFi. Actually, that's really the primary reason I'm into DeFi. You know, if you get your Flare staked and Flare's pumping out stable coins for you on a weekly basis or a monthly basis through staking, that to me could be a pathway to passive income strictly here from the crypto space. You know, I still like the YouTube route. For me, making videos is fun. I enjoy doing this. I think as this channel grows, it's probably going to ramp things up. I'm only 2 months in. But, you know, even YouTube for me kind of serves a purpose of, you know, getting a little bit of extra cash flow going. So just something to think about. Even before I got into crypto, you know, I was very business minded. I always kind of thought that you should be doing something productive with your time. As much as I like football and things like that, I don't have it in me to watch multiple football games on a Saturday or on a Sunday. Like, I'll watch the big game and that's it, because that's time that could be spent doing something productive, something that generates income. If your situation's bad enough, I'm not saying anyone here is in that situation, but you could always hop in your car and drive Uber or DoorDash as like a last resort for getting new cash flow. And that could be a way, you know, for some people that might not make enough money to really be hard dumping into the market, to be able to take advantage of some of this. I guess I'm pretty fortunate that, I'm coming from the consulting space. So, I worked in SAP for 10 years. I don't know if you guys know what SAP is, but relatively high paying field. I mean, it wasn't crazy, but it was definitely better than average. So I was able to get a very early start. Kind of fortunate that worked out for me. I'm not saying that like I could necessarily retire off what I have right now. But it gave me the window to do YouTube, which was always my dream. I always wanted to do this, and I finally pulled the cord on it. Having enough income to be able to make a pool of money kind of made all of this possible. So that's kind of my perspective on that. T-Boy says, keep up the good work, Andrew. Thank you. I highly appreciate that. I do think I'm going to start closing things up here a little bit early, but I think we got through all the news stories that are to cover today. If you guys are not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure to like the stream if you haven't. We're at 48. I think most of you at this point have probably liked the stream, but if you haven't, help me get up to that 50. And on top of that, I do now have my membership program. I can't exactly see it the way you guys see it because I'm on my own channel. But if you are interested in joining, right here on my profile screen, like if you were looking on your end, next to where it says subscribe, there should be a button that says join. I ask that you consider joining my membership program. It's just $1 a month to sign up, but it does help me make this channel a bit more sustainable as we grow things, especially thinking about going to stuff like these developer conferences. Since I would be paying out of pocket for these, that kind of stuff would go a long way. Purely optional, up to you guys. Either way, I'm going to keep my head down and just keep kind of grinding out content. But that's the general idea behind that. And then Dean and I are going to work together to eventually build out a merch store. A lot of moving parts here when you're running a YouTube channel. So I'm just kind of taking everything one day at a time. But yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. We're about 10 minutes early, but appreciate everybody hopping on. We'll be back here bright and early tomorrow. Hopefully, we have some really good news with the Clarity Act. Again, could take it either direction. We'll see. We'll just have to see how that goes. And with that, you guys, I've been Andrew Fillion.